Hello, once again. A warm welcome to the third class of The Glass Menagerie, written by the popular American playwright Tennessee Williams. And the play was published in 1944. And to that, we will have a detailed study on the autobiographical element and undertones, the plot overview, a detailed study on the scenes, and definitely the characters. So, before we get into the autobiographical note and undertone, it is important for us to understand the life of Tennessee Williams. So, as we all know and are aware of the fact that he's a American playwright who was born in 1911 and died in 1983, and his name was Thomas Lanier Williams III. But as a reader, we all know him by his pen name, which is Tennessee Williams. So, apart from that, we know of him being a very creative and imaginative playwright or a dramatist, and he has written some of his great plays, which has been adapted to film as well. Now, if we talk about the Glass Menagerie, we see that he has established the idea of memory play, and there are certain reflections from his own life that is exhibited fictionally through this play. So we see of him being the second child of Cornelius Coffin Williams, the father of Williams, and Edwina Dakin, the mother of Williams. And also he had a sister named Rose. Talking about his family condition and atmosphere, we saw that Williams's father was mostly out of home, and gradually with time he became very abusive due to the heavy consumption of alcohol. So certainly he was addicted to it, and making it all the more difficult for the family to bear him over time. Another setback for the father was the diphtheria that his father suffered from, that made him very weak, depressed, and kept him isolated from the rest of the family. But the rest of the family includes his mother, his sister, and himself. So, with the father's lack of attention towards his family and unable to provide proper sustenance and finance, it became very dysfunctional. So, growing up in a very dysfunctional family with a mother in a hopeless marriage with an abusive husband allowed the two children, that is Williams and Rose, to spend most of their nights amidst turbulence, fight, and tears. So, these two children were mostly lacking a familiarity, a bonding. So there was a lack of attention and care that they had yearned from their parents. Along with the perpetual financial loss that led him into an unhappy life, we also see him that slowly he was uh, losing out his mental power. However, there were times when he had to gather strength to stand by his mother and his only daughter. So, not often he could voice out loud against his father's loudly turbulent behavior, but most of the time his mother calmed him and allowed him to stay less nervous and motivated him to not lose the peace of mind because he had to stand by his sister. So, although he was suffering from mental illness, but gradually he leaped up and made a successful career by fighting all the battles and odds. So we see that there were familial issues that had arisen because of his father having to become a proficient salesman but failed, and then got addicted to alcohol, and then suffering from diphtheria and preferred his work over parenting his children. However, we see that William was originally living in Mississippi, but since they couldn't survive there and the income source were less, they had to shift to St. Louis for a better opportunity. So uh, they shifted from this genteel culture of Columbus, Mississippi, to St. Louis, which was more of an urban cultural world. So, from an expensive episcopal home in the south, the family shifted to an ugly tenement building in St. Louis for minimal survival. So we see this shift also led him to feel more dejected, and simultaneous impact was also seen in his sister Rose. So the atmosphere of a genteel culture in Mississippi was slowly fading, and they had to adapt the urban culture, whom he had ridiculed throughout. So the familiarity bonding that they had in Mississippi was fading away, and also with his father back in home led him more disturbing. So William's sister was his only comfort and greatest support to say. But on the other hand, talking about his sister, we see that she became very claustrophobic as they moved to St. Louis and suffered initially from severe depression. So we see his sister slowly creating a world of her own, becoming introvert, and slowly began to lack a keen interest in studies. And definitely, she hoped to stay in the room of her own rather than being outside to the world. So, there are certain similarities we find between Laura, the fictional character, and Rose, Tennessee Williams' sister. So, we see that the gravest fear for Tennessee Williams was to lose his sister, whom he was closest. So, after the news that his sister was suffering from schizophrenia, he got devastated. But his sister began to worry more of her family than to herself. So soon after she suffered from schizophrenia, it is heard that Rose also was subjected to lobotomy and was institutionalized for the rest of her life. So apart from having financial constraints, William also had to take care of the private nursing care for Rose. So gradually having so much of turmoil, challenges coming up, and a crossroad of ill fate, we see William struggling to keep up with the sustenance, stand by his mother and his sister. So the facts that were part of Williams's life reveal the true origin of all the materials that were crafted by him into his best literary pieces, and that is why we still acclaim of him being one of the greatest playwrights in the history. This miniature, as we can observe, is mostly an expressionist play, and this particular play, that is not only expressionistic but also a memory play, deals with various symbols and the psychological aspects that are related to everyday life. So initially we had talked about the two features which are very common in all his works are interconnectedness and relativity. So the first line of the play starts with the narrator Tom saying, "It is a memory play." So this particular quote that is narrated by Tom is signifying to the events throughout the play as depicted within the play that has happened and or probably have occurred in the narrator's life at some point of time. So there are various aspects related to the psychological underpinning that we will be traveling through. So rather than the external or the primary reality as related to the work, the inner consent and vision that are portrayed by these characters kind of play an important thematic role as we progress along the play. So the author helps us to identify with the inner battle of these characters, what they have been through in their past, and what they're portraying in the present, how far their past had an adverse impact on their present, and why are they frightened to lead a better future. So it is important to note that the state of each character, that is Amanda, Tom, and Laura, representing certain specific features that would eventually help in understanding the sting of inner consciousness. And by doing so, we will be gaining an insight into the psychologies of these characters. Also, that this play is a direct transition of real life characters, and the plot even becomes something being born out of life. So Tennessee Williams was nurtured by his not by his mother alone, who was their sole guardian, and however he had been gaining support and comfort from his sister, but they lacked a complete family relationship. So the tense household of his parents affected him badly, and to avoid the issue, he became engaged with his work with time. So, certainly, we see that there is a similar case going on with the character Tom as well. So, in the family of the Wingfield, we see that Tom, Laura, and Amanda, their mother, have been abandoned by their father, and that have devoid them from living a familial, happy life. So Tom finds his relief in his work life too. Like in the Tennessee Williams's life, he had begun his literary career. So Williams undoubtedly can be referred as a truly talented artist with his mastery over writing skills. So we can talk of him being a very artistic or a great mind that has been a result of his triumphant victory over the challenges that life had set him. And no matter how emotionally uneven ride he had been through, but he had always stood strong. He had always rose up to his confidence and never looked down again. So moving on to the plot overview, so we see that the opening scene of this play is set by the narration of the Tom Wingfield, the son of the Wingfield family. Tom is both the narrator and the character here, and Tom appears in the uniform of a merchant sailor and explains to the audience or the reader what the condition of his family and its causes have led to the development of their present circumstances and situations. So he appears to be a very smart, upright, ambitious, commanding person when he delivers his words to the audience. So, as an audience or as a reader, we see of him being a man who is uttering words and taking us through his past with so much conviction that as a reader we are interconnected not only with the plot but also have a dire relationship with these characters. So it is not only these characters evolving with time but also the readers. So the opening scene allows Tom to tell the audience that he belongs to a middle class family and goes on to explain how his family was further traumatized after their father had abandoned them, and also commences towards a very flashback technique into the dining room. And in the middle of the first scene, we see in that dining room Amanda entering, narrates to her children the story of how she had to entertain as many as 17 suitors in one night at her place in Mississippi. So we are not just directed to the flashback and memory lane by Tom, but while he is narrating the story of his past, we also see a play in a play format where we also get into the memory lane of their mother Amanda, who takes us to her youthful life where she had met 17 suitors and what she had dreamt of her life after she had married. So, certain situations of Amanda's past, Laura's past, and Tom's past are being polished time to time, and we are slowly getting immersed in the plot. So, the scene one begins with the projection of the Wingfield apartment. The Wingfield apartment is in the rear of the building, and the apartment is set against the urban hub inhabited by a lower middle class population, and the population is such that it is called the interfused mass of automatism. So we find also certain smaller corners of the apartment, that is a fire escape, which is mostly recurring throughout the play. And certainly from this memory play, we see that Tom play a very important role as a narrator and both as a character. So not only is he opening out to the memory lane of his past to the audience, he is also redirecting a very symbolic and a pictorial atmosphere by presenting the Wingfield apartment by saying that it was faced with dark, grim, rear wall. So while he is explaining or picturizing the apartment, we see that it was constructed in a very old fashioned way, signaling to a very conventional thought process. So through this opening scene where he is introducing his mother, who is again taking us back to her youthful life, where Laura enters slowly and we are getting into the Wingfield apartment and how far we are being able to picture the apartment in our mind. We also see that this opening scene is introducing each character in a very subtle way. So we already get a very fair introduction of these characters. Also, we see that the outdoor area of the place that is visible comprises narrow alleys and fire escapes that can flank the building itself through the highly transparent fourth wall. The audience is also, or as a reader, we are also able to view the living room on the Wingfield family with structured entry to the dining room. Slowly, after introducing the characters and having certain conversations from the past, the scene ends with the hope of finding a perfect gentleman caller for Laura. So we see that, Amanda is talking of her time when she had met the 17 suitors and what she thought of her marriage being. And she always had a very fantasy idea of marriage being a very happy leading life with people and children. And also, after having been abandoned by her husband and being the sole guardian, she has been a very protective mother and a very strict one as well. But all she hopes is a better future for her children's. So we see that Laura is constantly hesitating of the fact that her mother is pressing on the fact of her getting a suitor in her life with whom she can spend her rest of the life in peace and happiness. But Laura seems to not understand her mother's psychology. So the overall scene one, is enthralling, having an introduction to the psychology of each character. And what remains very startling for us as a reader is that each character is unfolded to their real self. Also, we are taken into a daily household picture, allowing to relate and engage with these characters. Now, as we move into the scene 2, we see that there is an emphasis on the blue roses. So there is a line, if we can quote, is on the dark stage, the screen is lighted with the image of blue roses. So we see that from this line quoted from scene 2 of the play, we are having a curiosity about what is this blue rose. So, as the scene progresses, we see Laura is under the focus and being the central of scene 2, who is seated in a delicate ivory chair and in a very relaxed and thoughtful manner. So, also we see that there was a verbal banter between Laura and Amanda, and atmosphere of the house was kind of little nervous and grim. And as the conversation between Laura and Amanda continues, we see that Amanda is under constant worry in getting her daughter married, leading a happy life, allowing her to succeed in her career. But soon we see that uh, the scene is filled with an atmosphere of disappointment. So, what is the disappointment? That Amanda is failing miserably in making her child, Laura, understand what she is trying to kind of inspect from her. So Laura seems to have been hiding certain things that got caught by Amanda, and those are that she had not been attending her business classes and that she was not being a good student. She was lying to her mother, and when she was caught by her mother, she had to tell why was she doing so, and that had got her into major worry and stress and tension. And also, after these certain conversations, we see the scene standing out from the rest because of highlighting certain familial relationships. So, we understand Tom's concern for his sister Laura, Laura's concern to her fragile and vulnerable nature, Amanda's concern for both of her children, and we also see a very vulnerable side of Amanda. So Amanda is seen to be a caring and loving mother, and she is constantly battling with herself, household chores, in bringing the best to her children. Also, she is a constant learner who learns from her past and present, and who, from her childhood experiences, always tends to teach her children up the difference between right and wrong. Now, moving on to the scene 3, we see that again there is a reflection of the fire escape. So, in the setting of the apartment, we are taken back to the fire escape, certainly very similar to scene 1. So, this scene begins with Tom addressing the audience of his mother's obsession to find a gentleman caller for his sister. So, she is kind of hoping to have some logical arguments with his children, with her children. And unlike the previous scene, we find a shift between Amanda and Tom. So the quarrel now shifts from Amanda and Laura to Amanda and Tom. So now she is interfering much to Tom's regular life, events, and actions, and also asks him not to read novels, which is not going to give him any good because she feels as a mother that reading novels and literary things will make him become more unrealistic. So Tom gets furious and shouts at his mother with a very disgusted voice and angry face. And there we see, as a reader or an audience, that there bridges a dichotomy between the two. So Tom actually had to undergo a rigid life, and he had to become a bread earner for this family after their father had abandoned them. But for Tom, it was always that he was inclined to become a writer and he loved reading great novels and great poetries. So, when he was restricted from doing so and had to kind of go to his job at the warehouse, so he slowly falls in prey towards the social conventional idea of being a man. So, having financial crisis and rent to pay, Amanda hopes that her son Tom, to work at a warehouse and forbids him of other do's. So, we see that slowly Tom gets furious and escapes, and there is a verbal banter between the son and the mother, which results in no good because he walks away, shutting the door. So, the scene 3 is presenting the differences among all the three characters. So, not only are we aware of the relationship that they have built, but also we understand of Amanda being a very uh, isolated mother who is disappointed by her children and who are unable to understand why has she become so strict, rigid, and forbids them from having a worldly life, because as a mother she has certain protective measures to her children. So the reason for Tom leaving the house and Laura escaping to her room is that they fail to understand their mother concern. So Amanda is often misinterpreted of being frivolous. But in a universe that is moving between perception and truth, we see Amanda Wingfield still exist as a very solemn mother. So she actually shuts her eyes to the emotional front and forebodes a practical environment, which becomes all the more convenient to her. So, in order to survive her current condition in life, she utilizes various escape methods sometimes. So there are certain wandering situations coming up for all the three characters as we progress into scene 5 and scene 4. So while we enter scene 4, we are taken into the interior of the apartment, which is dark. So assuming that it is a night time, where we see in the scene 4 where all the characters are asleep. So the apartment within is dim. In the alley, there is a shaky and faded light. While Amanda is asleep, Tom profusely looks out in his door key pockets, extracting a large variety of Quest products like the shard of stubs and a bottle that is empty. Laura, amidst Tom's quest in finding the door key and willing to escape from the house, inquires of his absence at home. So, in response, Tom says there was a big stage show. Soon the stage dims out, indicating it's night time and that every character is asleep. Laura becomes worried as she fears if Amanda gets awake and finds out that Tom has escaped from the house, there might arise a very turbulent situation. So we see that the relationship between Tom and Laura is reflected, suggesting that they are extremely close and have certain mutual respect for each other. So Laura has always been very fond of her brother Tom, as he has been supportive in various moments in Laura's life. So gradually we see a very informal relationship which is very respectful coming up between Laura and Tom, and also we see they have both been supporting and understanding each other because they were the only two friends in that house who could understand them. But again, we see certain conversations coming up where again Amanda caught Storm of escaping from the house and attending the stage shows and coming up late at home. So again, Laura tries to reduce the banter, verbal banter, and tries to amend things between both. So the audience encounters an emotional and delicate side of Amanda and also sees of Laura being a bridge between Tom and Amanda's conflicts, who have been trying to play a crucial role to end arguments and kind of provide an emotional affection towards all. And also we see that there is a solitary battle inside each of the characters. Now moving on to scene 5, we see that there are familial encounters among Tom, Laura, and Amanda. So, Amanda and Tom, after having a very rough banter in scene 4, for the first time are seen to have a very calm conversation, which seems to enhance their relationship. It becomes quite clear that the relationship between both Amanda and Tom is extremely strong, and that will never fade away because of their indifferences. Because somewhere Tom respects her mother being uh, compromising and sacrificing so much in her life for her two children. So the scene opens after the incidents and banters of scene 4, and we are taken with the consideration of all the three characters who have just completed their dinner, and Amanda and Laura are currently clearing the table and trying to have a very peaceful, in creating a very peaceful atmosphere in the house. However, the most significant moment of this scene is when Tom tells Amanda of the arrival of the gentleman caller, whom we popularly known as Jim. So, after getting the news from Tom, Amanda is highly excited, happy that her son has actually found a gentleman caller or a suitor perfect for her sister. But she knows not that Jim, or the gentleman caller Tom calls the next evening, is someone whom her daughter Laura had long been acquainted with. So it is in this scene that Jim O'Connor, or the gentleman suitor, is introduced as a warehouse colleague of Tom. So Tom escapes the settings and strays away towards the fire escape, enjoying a smoke, and we see that for the first time we are introduced with the gentleman suitor and how this evening gets all the more worse in for the life of Laura. So it is essential to understand that Amanda seems to be doing everything that would make her children happy and be closer to achieving their possible and respective success. Amanda Wingfield may be defined as one focused on denial, activating and disabling, and the relationship with her daughter Laura. Amanda always wanted Laura to become an established person in terms of career and as a wife and as a woman. But hearing the news of her getting a suitor with whom she can spend the rest of the life kind of situates a very emotional atmosphere in this scene. And lastly, the last scene, scene 6, we are introduced by Tom to the audience again, where he leans against a wall smoking a cigarette. It allows us as a reader to identify what is going on in the mind of Tom. And as he begins, we see that the evening sets in where Jim comes home, and the scene begins with Tom leaning against the fire scene and waiting for Jim to enter while he'll be able to introduce him to Amanda and Laura. So then we see that, as Laura sees Jim, she is taken back to her memory lane where she had a huge affection for Jim during their high school. So which was kind of unaware, to which Amanda and Tom were actually unaware of. So we see that there is also a verbal banter going on between Laura and Jim, who are sitting in Laura's room and discussing of their memory lane of high school. and to where we find that Jim O'Connor has a girl in his life and confesses to having an Irish lady named Betty and claims to get married to her. And finally, the most important scene, the closing one of is the scene 7, where we see Jim confessing about Betty, and we see Laura giving him a gift, that is the unicorn, which was the most favorite figurine of her. And Jim parts a goodbye to Laura after kissing her and reveals that Jim and Laura is not going to stay together. So uh and also we can take that, while she was gifting it to Jim accidentally breaks the unicorn as it drops from his hand down. So it can be claimed that this broken unicorn can be a symbol that they are not going to stay together, and also signifies the loss of our desire for happiness in marriage. And towards the end, we see that, Tom becomes very emotional because he was unaware that Laura had a very affectionate feelings few years back, and that, they were not strangers, but they had been aware of each other, and that, the idea of him getting married to Betty had shattered his sister once again. So Tom is very emotional, like Amanda, and we see that, there is a very silence, or a very meeky, grim environment. And gradually we see that, Tom bids farewell from his sister and from her mother. And towards the last, we see he was dismissed from the factory shortly after to compose a poem on a shoebox cover, and he abandoned the home and leaving behind his mother and his sister. He also noticed and became emotional that it had become difficult for Laura to understand and accept that Jim can never be hers. So no matter where he travels, Tom will always be affectionate towards his family, especially to his sister. And towards the end, we see Laura brushes the candles in the living room as Tom says farewell. So, talking about the overview, we can say that the whole plot of the play reverberates of the past incidents, experiences of these three characters, Amanda, Tom, and Laura, that affects and impacts significantly their present as well as their future. So there is a lack of acceptance, a lack of comfort to what they were going through. So the whole play is a very perfect example that emulates the aspects of a memory play by relating all sorts of notions associated with human mind to their memories of past and present. But what the author is trying to set an example forward is to accept life the way it is. So we have to kind of bind together our mind and soul to become somebody in our life and not just only think about what has not been achieved. So it is important for us to accept life of having both turmoils and happiness. So it is important for us to interfuse with the happenings of life and accept life in a very realistic way and not constantly escape and get frightened from the past. So, as we enter into the final phase of the glass miniature, we see that it's a very conventional tragic play that actually depicts the hardship of the three different characters, which has been beautifully exhibited by Tennessee Williams, and we it see it kind of draws upon the lifestyle of a middle class family thriving hard to sustain their lives. And also certainly we see how they are being burdened of responsibility, not as a mother or but also as a son and a daughter who are together fighting to make a family functional. So the characters in the play are well relatable with common people or the readers or the audience having tragic turns of their own. So as we read and move towards the progression of the scenes, we seem to develop as with the characters as it is. So the tragedy in the life of each character raises the question to determine the character that had the most tragic life. So for us, we can see each of them are battling in creating something admirable out of what had happened and satisfy their minds and wishes. and not conforming to the uneasy situation also. So we see that each character is stitched around certain nostalgic yearnings from the past, which is infused in the present, and there is a fearful future awaiting them. But what is important for them is to accept what it is and evolve as a character, and which they gradually did with time, while Laura accepting her fate and that she wants to stand by her mother and she never loses hope in having a better life, and also Amanda not losing hope to have a better life and dream of a better life for her children, and also that Tom finally agrees to leave all that behind and settle a life for himself. And it can also be called as a sentimental act or a play in terms of the pervasive recounts from the past, the kind of experiences we see from the memory lane of each characters. So since Tom, the protagonist or the narrator, or we can say both, seeks to pull the reader through his floating memories of past and battles, we see that we are all imbued with this beautiful experience that is exhibited through the art of Tennessee Williams, which guides us all to our own life and make a sense out of who we are and find the actual meaning of life. So I hope I have been able to give you a brief outline of the class menagerie. And if you have any queries or any requests, or you want me to focus on certain other aspects, please comment down below, or you can mail on the mail address on the description box. I hope you all to connect with the Das Academy and enjoy the easy tutorials. Thank you and have a wonderful day.